How long did this project take?
About 7 years. Yeah.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Morning Update live on NTN. My name is Jessie Leonce. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching on air online, welcome, welcome, welcome. Residents in St. Lucia, St. Lucians in the diaspora, good morning to you. Thank you for making NTN your morning station. We have quite a few updates for you, but more importantly, taking over this morning's program are interviews. We're making up for time that was taken up yesterday. Very fortunately, I must say, for the first arrival of vaccines through the COVAX facility. We're going to get into that in just a moment, but in the meantime, I want to let you know some of the interviews we have for today. We have Ms. Christine Samuel, author of Dance Footprints. Many of you would remember her from the Crystallized Dance Academy and so much more, even her career as an educator at the Castries Comprehensive Secondary School. Well, today she is here in studio to talk to us about her latest project, which is her book. And of course, more on the book launch happening this weekend. We have Mr. Vincent Boland, Managing Director at the SLDB, and Ms. Ray Atkinson, General Manager at Sagicor, and they will be on today as we come to a cap-off of the Bankers of St. Lucia interview series that we've done in the last few weeks, highlighting the work of the various financial institutions on Ireland, letting you know who they are, who are the executives behind these organizations, what are they providing for their clients during this pandemic. We know many persons have been hit hard because of COVID-19. And our last interview for the morning, we have Ms. Shania Lebron, and she is representing St. Lucia in an environmental competition. So we'll hear more from her on that in just a moment. Stay with us. When we come back, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we take a quick look at the first arrival of the COVAX facility vaccines, the first for St. Lucia, and we get into our first interview for the morning.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join revolution.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Thank you so much for staying with us.
The food was amazing. I'm definitely going to come back there.
Happy.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is the Morning Update live on NTN. We have quite a few interviews in store for you this morning, starting with our interview with Christine Samuel, author of Dance Footprints. This is the latest in her projects and her works over her lifetime. She's documented 40 years of dance history here in St. Lucia. I'm looking forward to this interview, but first we take a look back at yesterday, the COVAX vaccine arrival, the first in a series of vaccine batches that we can expect through this facility. We have health officials indicating that this first shipment is priming the national vaccine campaign for its next phase, and this will constitute the second doses for the nearly 23,000 individuals who were vaccinated over the last few weeks since February 17th. That was the first vaccine administered here on Ireland. The initial vaccines, if you're wondering, if you don't remember, were donated through India's Vaccine Friendship Program. Initially, we got some donations through the other islands who received their donations from India first, and then we received our 25,000 from the government and people of India. Just to let you know, in this donation, this batch that we've received from the COVAX facility, this facility is allowing essentially for equitable distribution of vaccines globally, and it guarantees vaccination for 20% of each participating country's population. So fortunately for St. Lucia and many other countries, populations that are vulnerable in this whole COVID-19 vaccination grab, we are benefiting from this facility. 74,000 doses have been allocated in total for St. Lucia, and we've received 24,000 just yesterday, and we will receive the remaining doses in the coming weeks. We have a report out of the NTN Nightly last night just to give you some insight. We have some scenes to bring you up to that. Okay, so we seem to be having some technical difficulties with that. So I think we'll just go ahead with our interview for the morning, and when we do get that sorted, we will bring those scenes from the Urinar International Airport to you. At this time, we want to get into our interview with Ms. Christine Samuel, author of Dance Footprints. She has documented 40 years of dance history here on island, and just want to show you the book before I show you the face, because I'm sure you know the face. This is the book Dance Footprints. Good morning, Ms. Samuel. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jessie.
Wonderful.
Yes.
The past year has been, I mean, quite a roller coaster for many, particularly those within the entertainment industry, the arts sector. Tell us what it has been for you. We're going to come to the book in just a moment.
That's okay.
The lead up to the book is coming.
For me, it has been a peaceful time. I think I'm one of these people, maybe because I was prepared in my own way, being retired for such a long time and being home. I probably cited myself, and I know things have been hard for a lot of people, but I looked at it as a time of just consoling myself and being peaceful with myself, and the things that you were not able to do, I used that opportunity to do the things I wanted to do.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And certainly we've seen that come to fruition.
Yes,
Tell us about this latest project.
I wrote the book, Dance Footprints. It's something that I always wanted to do, because for me it's very important that documentation is done. And I spent quite a bit of years working at the Department of Culture, and this is where it all started from. I used to do a magazine called Dance Rapport, which gave every dancer around the region, St. Lucia, the information on dance. And as a young lady growing up, I documented everything dance. So even my husband Boots, we collected programs, we collected, just name it, newspaper clippings, so I always had information. And also people like Mr. Lilith Tobias, who always did photographs of everything that we did. So I always collected information. And so COVID came, and I got the opportunity to do the thing I really wanted to do, was to put the book together, and here it is.
And so it was finalized.
It was finalized, yes.
Tell us about this process. How many years did it take to
It took me 7 years, and what really brought it out was when Auntie Virgie died. Virginia Alexander passed away, and CDF did the Icon series on dance in St. Lucia, and they asked me to put an exhibition together for her, and just to document dance. And for me, that was the right opportunity. So what I did the exhibition at the Blue Coral Mall in bios and photographs. So basically, when the exhibition was done, I transformed the exhibition into the book. So anybody who came to that exhibition in 2016, April 18, 2016, at the Blue Coral Mall, they would see the whole relationship between the book and the exhibition.
Okay.
Yeah.
40 years of dance in St. Lucia.
In St. Lucia.
Encapsulate that for me.
There have been a lot of people who have helped in the development of dance in St. Lucia. The generation today do not know these people, and I felt it was necessary for all the generation of people now, and the dancers that are going to be bringing dance forward to the next generation, needed to know who these people were. Some of them have passed, some of them are still alive and don't live in St. Lucia, and I wanted St. Lucians to know of them. Andine George, Petit Saint Lucie, Little Caribbean dancers, CYO dancers, Fado dancers, name it. All of these are in the book. Also, the ones now, like Avad, Youth of Flame. So it went down in generations from 1960 to 2008 when Auntie Virgie died. So that's what the book carries,
And
40 years.
Not to mention Christine Samuels of Christy Lights
Yes,
Dance Academy.
Crystallites. I also had Crystallites, and I had St. Lucia Dance Theatre Company. So that also is documented in the book. Yeah.
Okay. Tell us a bit about your own career and some of the inspirations that you drew from. And I want to really give a picture of continuity. How have you given back to the art form? Coming out of the dance, which I retired from Castries Comprehensive School, I always believe I'm still an artist. So no matter what happened, I'm still an artist. I moved from that into clothing and fashion. And that did me well. I mean, I'm wearing my own jewelry now. I make my own bags. So I always see myself as an artist. But as an artist, your work never finishes. I wanted to make sure that my brand, people would know of the brand because I am a dancer. And so I had to ensure that if my career does complete in the time I've passed away, that you'd have known all of Christine. The dancer, the artist, the painter. And you heard the word painter? I'm actually painting now, and COVID actually brought out that as well. I am painting on canvas, which is something I did at school, and because COVID came, I was able to encapsulate all of those things, and my career is based on all of that, the artists. I want to get more into that. But tell us about some of your inspirations, because definitely putting this documentary together would have caused you to do some retrospective, looking back at your life.
What inspired me more is the stories of the artists, the stories of the dancers. I mean, if you live in our environment, it's hard because the dancers have a story that nobody was, or any artist, but nobody seemed to understand. The one of trials and tribulations, the ones of pain and no money, and not having a place to dance and a home, being bankrupt. So I wanted to ensure that I told the story of the dancer. That's what I did, tell the story of the dancer and the artist.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Where do you think we need to go from here? We see many artists doing very well, becoming very prominent and being awarded national and international, getting recognition to that degree, and still we're seeing not enough, perhaps, I dare say, recognition for the and protection of these icons. Many of them, I dare say, even dying paupers.
Yes.
Where do we need to go from here?
I think we need to just continue documenting. I strongly believe it's important. The next generation needs to know of any artists who have survived in our times and go beyond. And they themselves as artists really need to just document your work, because when you're gone, nobody will know of you. And that was the problem I am having now for myself. And even like Corky just passed, Auntie Virgie has died, Labot has died. Yes, we'll remember them in the memory, but we need to remember them in the flesh, in the terms of documenting what they have done. And for me, every artist who are living today now and want to have that memory, people to have that memory, no matter what you do, safeguard yourself, document your work. Document your work.
I see you have posed for the cover. Tell us a bit about this.
This photograph has a story of itself. In the few months of when Virgie was very ill, we had decided to go to a studio to do that photograph. And we put a collection of photographs together. And I mean, last night I was writing my speech and I'm saying, wow, this is really a magnificent photo, because it encapsulates everything that Virgie has put together for Dance in St. Lucia. And I felt it was very fitting, since the book is in memory of her, and she's the mother of Dance in St. Lucia. So hence the reason that this book, the cover of the book, puts Virgie and I, on Dance Footprints.
Wonderful. We're running out of time, but tell us a color. There's color inside. There's pictures. There's print.
The book is made up of bios and photographs in color, black and white. So it will give you the whole story from where the dancer started and the group started, and will give you the photographs to show who these people are. and what they have done in the development of dance in St. Lucia.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Angela Christine Samuel, author, added to your list.
Added to my list, yes.
Wonderful. Dance
Thank
Footprints,
you.
40 Years of Dance in St. Lucia. The book will be formally launched this weekend.
On Saturday at the National Cultural Center, a small audience, but it will be live on Calabash TV. And people can check my Facebook page as of now because the links are there, so they'll be able to follow the whole ceremony on Saturday.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mrs. Samuel.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I wish you all the best with this latest project.
Thank you so much.
Do stay with us. When we come back, we continue on with the Bankers Association of St. Lucia series.
Cette lisi ka registre vers min corona. Ek I ka fè mouvment ek an chay vites tan, chak kanef ka kouye pou vilijans publik la, fè wolou, pale an plas publik kon bolanme, baz, ti boutik, chanje, distans sosyal, 6 pieds, hod yon alot, I ka travay tan, si ou santi kou pa cordial, quarantine kou, patwe en contact epi lot, an ka ou te toape expose. Si an ekouye, free 11 obe nepot klinik yo pou yo. Le peyi a dimi akle, sa vle di, le supermarket, pharmacie epi ATM, yo aksesab avan se tet swe. Peyi akle en plein, ça veut dire tout bagay fermé à 24 heures. Servi protocole comme sorti par bureau indication santé. Nous tout ensemble, ça sauver vers min corona. Si nous tout servi jidla à toutes les.
You had
a good time?
I did. The food was amazing. I'm definitely going to come back here.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
So what's it like tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have a meeting. We have a matter to discuss.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have a matter to discuss.
What's it about then?
I can't tell you. It's confidential. We can't discuss it.
Alright, that's cool. I understand. You want me to put on some music? You want me to put on some music?
No, I need you to slow down. You're driving too fast.
Speak up and speak out if your life or the lives of others are in danger. Drive safe or drive alive.
Thank you so much for staying with us. We continue at this time. We're just coming off of our interview with Ms. Christine Samuel. She's launching her book this weekend, Saturday, at the National Cultural Center. Of course, you can watch it online via Calabash TV. It is called, it's a book launch. It is called 40 Years of Dance History, Dance Footprints, and definitely taking a look back at all that has happened within the art form here on island. Also, the cover is so beautiful with Auntie Virgie, one of the prominent dancers here on island, and I know one of Mrs. Samuel's inspirations. So we do encourage you to follow that online and, of course, make a purchase if you are able. We continue this morning with our interviews with the Bankers Association in collaboration with the Bankers Association of St. Lucia. This morning we are speaking to Mr. Ray Atkinson, General Manager at Sagicor, and we have so far interviewed a range of financial institutions, and Sagicor is definitely one of these organizations that provide a wide array of financial products and services. So it's wonderful that I could get an opportunity to speak to you. Special good morning to you, Mr. Atkinson.
And good morning, Jesse, and good morning to your viewers. Thanks for having me.
First of all, COVID-19, Sagicor.
Okay, Jesse, if I may make a slight distinction, Sagicor and St. Lucia are 3 companies.
Okay.
Sagicor Life, which is life insurance, and then there's Sagicor General, which is property and casualty, and then there's Sagicor Finance, which is part of the Bankers Association, which is what I'm the general manager of.
Understood.
So my discussion with you really would be only regarding the finance.
Finance,
yes.
Understood. So talk to us about those services under finance, Sagicor Finance.
Just like we remember the Bankers Association, just like the banks, we operate under the Banking Act. We're regulated by Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. The only difference really is the product line. So we provide loans. So we source funds and we use funds. We source funds from the public through the placement of term deposits, and we use those funds to make loans specifically against usually an asset purchase, such as machinery and equipment, vehicles, mortgages, consumer loans.
Okay. And in the last year, tell us about the experience that your specific Sagicor Finance has had.
It's been difficult, like I assume most people would have experienced, because as you know, banking is a matter of relationships and trust. So our clients have had difficulties that too will impact us. But we've tried to play our part, and understanding the predicament and the impact from COVID-19 to the economy, we have provided relief as the entire association has done.
Okay. What has the pandemic done to the performance of your loans in this last year? Because we know you would have been part of the moratoria being offered
Correct.
through the Bankers Association. How have you fared in that respect?
A lot of our clients, especially those that are involved in the tourist sector, were severely affected. And that's, as you correctly said, we participated in the moratorium relief packages, where we were able to suspend basically their payments for a period of time. I am encouraged, however, that since the end of that moratorium period, while it's still being extended, we do it on a case-by-case basis because everybody's needs may be different or they've been impacted differently. And two, our resources are not unlimited either.
Yeah.
But I'm encouraged because a lot of people have maintained or tried to maintain their payment, even if it's not what the agreed amount was. They've still been able to pay something, and that's understandable. So we've, on some occasions, especially those in the tourist sector, like I said, is severely affected, we might have extended that loan waiver or moratorium period. Others, we're willing to reduce the payment, to give them a softer payment until such time that they can do better. And we're hoping that maybe by the fourth quarter of this year, or maybe into first quarter of 2022, things will start to pick up and people can start recovery.
What is the energy, the sentiment that governs access to your facilities at this time? Because certainly there are many institutions that have indicated that perhaps they are definitely tightening up on who would qualify for a particular loan. Have you adjusted the access to your facilities in any way? Initially,
that might have been, one could argue that, because we too were uncertain, did not know what the future held, and obviously everybody's trying to protect their industry or their business. But since over the last few months, as I said, we've been encouraged, and we've noticed a slight uptake in activity, especially on the domestic market. So as I said, while tourism still seems to be taking the brunt, the domestic industry, and as I said, we do a lot of construction type business, and there has been some work there. So in that respect, we haven't really made too much change to our risk criteria.
Understood. Tell us about your team and some of the arrangements that would have been made for them, because many institutions have instituted work from home regimes and so on. How has Sagicor Finance maneuvered in the pandemic? Well,
on the onset, we're part of a large group, being the Sagicor group, and there would be various protocols that we would have to comply with, that was introduced, and we comply with them. So initially, of course, during the lockdown, we all obviously were locked down, but as a result, we made sure we equipped our staff so they could in fact work from home.
Okay.
So they use VPN, they use their laptops, etc. Since then, though, that we've gone to rotating staff, so some will come in today, some will come in tomorrow, so that we can maintain that distancing within the office. Similarly, we do with the customers in terms of how many are allowed to come in at any one time. But we have a very small complement of staff, so it provides us that flexibility. And because of that flexibility, a lot of these protocols were easier for us to introduce. I mean, in terms of spacing, that's very easy for us to do. I will say though that this crisis is significantly worse than the one we faced in 2008, but where it seemed as though we've not, it's taken a long time to recover from that. This time I think around, things seem as though we might be able to.
So the recovery is quicker?
Well, I'm not sure if it's quicker, but actually yes, I think it would probably come about a lot faster.
Okay. Sagicor Group has been one of the organizations stepping forward in the COVID-19 response. We saw a significant donation being made toward within the region. Speak to us about how Sagicor Group, and more specifically finance, is continuing to assist the communities, continuing to assist the government of St. Lucia in ensuring the public's welfare.
All right, it's difficult for me to speak in terms of the group because there is the CEO of the region actually, because Sagicor Eastern Caribbean is domiciled here in St. Lucia, and there's a CEO by the name of Mr. Donald Austin. So he would be probably more suited and better placed to discuss that with you. So maybe you can invite him on, as well as being part of the financial sector. In terms of Sagicor Finance, like I said, we're a very small company. So with those sort of corporate responsibility issues, that usually is done by the group.
Understood. Understood. And going forward, tell us what's the resolve of Sagicor Finance in terms of perhaps dealing with maybe a similar event in the future. We know many of the banks are speaking about the digital transformations that they're doing. What is Sagicor Finance doing to prepare for any similar eventuality in the future?
Yeah, that's a very critical question. Again, because we're small, we're able to be a little bit more flexible, and we can, but certainly the adoption or the introduction of more technologies into the business is critical. And to give an example, in terms of giving people access to paying their loans, obviously you wouldn't want to come into the office or travel on the bus to come up all this day. So the whole idea is to try and do these things electronically. So we've encouraged our clients, and we've introduced various payment systems. Eastern Caribbean has something they call Eastern Caribbean ECACH, which is Eastern Caribbean Automatic Clearinghouse. Basically speaking, it allows us, once we get information from you in terms of your banking arrangements, that we can make those payments for you at a very minimum charge of just $1. Nice. So then that saves you costs, in a sense. You don't have to travel. It saves you time, which is also money, and it's a lot more efficient. You can be anywhere, and we can do this for you. So in that respect, on the other side of it, in terms of applying, say, for a loan or making a deposit, similarly can be accessed through the we use all the mediums, whether it's a website, whether it's a telephone. So we provide a lot of pre-interview before you come to the office. So when you come into the office, the only thing you really come in to do is you would have already gotten an approval. You just come in to sign and collect your documentation. So the time spent and the number of visits are cut down. So yes, technology is critical. In terms of whether we're going to go back to the office full time as we were before COVID, that's still debatable. A lot of people, I suspect it really has to do with your the business that you're involved with. Those are the more service oriented would probably find they will have to go back to office more. Those who are not as much service oriented, maybe they'll stay away and continue working from home.
Wonderful. My final question is how Sagicor Finance has complemented the group, really? Because many persons out there would know when they think Sagicor, they think insurance, you know.
Right.
Tell us how your arm of the organization has bolstered its operations in the region.
Yeah, the idea really was to try and have a one-stop shop. So in other words, your entire financial needs can be serviced by Sagicor. So the idea is that you're, one of the more biggest investments you do, for example, is purchase of a house or purchase of a vehicle if you're a younger person, or buy insurance so you can protect your family and yourself for a period of time, or protect your house against natural disasters. So the idea is that all the financial needs of an individual or corporation can be all serviced under one umbrella, basically speaking. And that was the idea of having both the life insurance, the property and casualty being the general insurance, and the finance company.
Understood. And it's worked
You bet.
successfully.
You bet.
Wonderful. Final words as we wrap up.
Basically speaking, I'd say it's been a very difficult period for us. Time seems to be going by rapidly. To think about it, we were in lockdown, I think, March of last year, and here we are in April, so it's over a year ago. And yet here we are. So it shows that we are resilient. And with that attitude, I suspect we will get through this like we get through most crises. And we look forward for serving the public as we move through to better times.
Okay, wonderful. How long have you held the post?
I've been with the group for, I'm guessing here, but probably about 14 years.
14 years.
Yeah, about that, yes.
Wonderful. And has it been a good ride?
Of course. Certainly. 14 years would suggest it has been.
You've come up the ranks, or?
No, my history is really through the banking sector, so I was really RBTT.
Okay.
Before I was with Sagicor.
Wonderful. Mr. Ray Atkinson, thank you so much for your time. The General Manager at Sagicor Finance, part of the Sagicor Group. It's been wonderful speaking to you. Again, another interview under the Bankers Association of St. Lucia collaboration. We're doing an interview series, getting you oriented with some of the bankers here on island, the financial institutions here on island. How are they coping? How are they faring during this pandemic? What offers do they have for the general public? Assisting, bringing some relief, because many persons have been hard hit, and of course their pockets are not that deep. Trying to help them navigate the financial sector and how to stay afloat. And also, who are these individuals? What are the faces, the executives sitting up on the top floors of these organizations? Thanks once again, Mr. Atkinson, for your time. Do stay with us. We are expecting the Managing Director of the SLDB, St. Lucia Development Bank. A quite interesting conversation there in terms of the economic recovery and resilience plan, the SLDB being part of that. So looking forward to speaking to Mr. Boland on that. Stay with us.
Yeah. What does coronavirus have in common with love? Both are highly contagious. Spread love, not the virus. Like you, COVID-19 loves a lime. Beach, river, or fed. Coronavirus is like these people who track every lime just to invade. The best way to put off invaders? Cancel the lime. Spread love, not the virus. Keep you and your crew corona-free. Live to lime another day.
Together let us win this war. St. Lucia be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
Coronavirus? But children are safe, no?
Hold up. Children are actually more likely to touch all kinds of surfaces, put their hands on their mouths and their eyes, or sneeze and cough with little thought about hygiene when around others. While children have been seen to recover well from this virus, they can easily spread it to those more at risk, like the elderly or ill persons who have a weaker immune system. Teach the little ones in your care to be little powerhouses of infection prevention. Keep reminding them, wash, wash, wash your hands. Cover your mouth with tissue or your inner elbow when you sneeze and cough. And be sure to praise them when you see them taking these precautions. Our health is in our hands. Together, through simple actions, we can stop the spread of coronavirus. This message was brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is the Morning Update live on NTN. We just came off of an interview, the latest in a series of interviews that we're doing in collaboration with the Bankers Association of St. Lucia, highlighting the work of financial institutions here on island. How are they coping? What are they instituting to assist some of their clients who may not be faring well due to the pandemic, and also putting a face, who are these executives at the helm of these financial institutions, helping you to better understand the organization and some of their initiatives. And of course, quite an interesting conversation there with Mr. Atkinson, Ray Atkinson, General Manager over at Sagicor Finance. It's part of the Sagicor Group. They do offer loan facilities, quite a wide array, similar to other lending institutions, and complementing really nicely their life and general aspects of the Sagicor Group. Definitely another organization indicating the challenges associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, but they're able to stay afloat, they're able to institute certain measures, and coupled with some dedicated clients ensuring that they honor their loans at Sagicor Finance, they're able to do well even outside of even considering the moratoriums being offered in the earlier part of the COVID-19 response here on island. We have 2 more interviews with financial institutions. We expect an interview with the St. Lucia Development Bank. I was hoping it would have been today, but I believe we'd have to reschedule. And also, we will be hearing from the head of the First National Bank, indigenous bank here on island. And of course, there's some news of RBC being bought over by that institution. So I'm definitely looking forward to speaking to the executive to find out some more about that, what it will mean for RBC clients and what it will mean for First National clients, and how can persons continue to take advantage of the products and services offered by the two. We have an interview coming up this morning from Shani LeBrun. She is a contestant in an international contest that I believe is about the environment. So we'll be hearing from her in just a moment. We do have a video to share of the work that she has submitted in that respect. But in the meantime, we want to take you back to yesterday. Carlton, myself, the entire GIS team, really top down. We were on the ground at the Urinor International Airport just yesterday to witness the arrival of the first vaccines via the COVAX facility. 24,000 Oxford AstraZeneca doses are the first in a series being deployed to the island through this facility, or it's considered the COVID-19 allocation plan. And this facility is an international one that allows for equitable distribution of vaccines globally. It guarantees vaccination for 20% of each participating country's population, and definitely portends well for St. Lucia, because we are one of the vulnerable countries in a time when persons are grabbing at vaccines and procuring vaccines the world over like crazy. Vulnerable states like ours we're prone to being left out of that, and so the COVAX facility has helped in that respect, helping us to access 74,400 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and the first batch, 24,000, coming in just yesterday. We have scenes of the Prime Minister going in and inspecting the shipments coming in yesterday, and there was also a ceremony directly after the tarmac presentation. Ceremony at the Jet Center. So take a look at some of those scenes put together in this report from NTN Nightly.
Prime Minister Honorable Alan Chastanet on Wednesday, 7 April 2021 was joined by Minister for Health, Senator Honorable Mary Isaac, officials of the Ministry of Health, PAHO, WHO and diplomatic allies as the aircraft transporting AstraZeneca vaccines touched down at the Urinor International Airport. 24,400 doses of the COVID-19 vaccine arrived here under the COVAX facility. Prime Minister Chasney said while it signified an important day for the country, it was one step in a long journey. The Prime Minister expressed gratitude to the countries and organizations that form COVAX. The COVID-19 Vaccines Global Access COVAX is an initiative aimed at achieving equitable access to COVID-19 vaccines. It is led by UNICEF, the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, or Gavi, the World Health Organization, and others. The goal is to provide vaccines to 163 countries to inoculate 20% of their populations.
That's a very noble cause, and I certainly would not want the gratitude of my government, and I know the people of St. Lucia, to those countries, that their names are lost in COVAX. Because some persons will say, some of our stronger allied countries are not helping us. That's not true. They have been helping us, and today is actually a demonstration of the beginning of that. So today we received 24,000 doses. We are on stream to receive 77,000, and we're hoping that before the end of the month, but that's always subject to change, before the end of the month that we'll receive at least another third of our dosage.
The delivery of the vaccines coincides with the observance of World Health Day. This year the theme is Together for a Fairer, Healthier World, a reflection of the need for the world's poorer countries to be assisted. PAHO Country Program Specialist Reynold Hewitt notes that in the Americas, 700 million people must be vaccinated to achieve herd immunity. In St. Lucia, that number is 147,000.
Access to COVID-19 vaccines should not be a privilege for the few, but a right that we all share regardless of who we are and where we are from. PAHO is supporting countries in distributing COVID-19 vaccines to their populations, building on their long-standing experience with vaccination campaigns and immunization programs. Around 142 million people have received at least one dose of vaccines in the Americas as of April 1. That is 26% in Latin America and the Caribbean.
Resident British Commissioner Steve McCready noted his government's commitment to COVAX as one of the biggest donors. In fact, the UK has contributed £9.3 billion to the global fight against COVID-19.
The recognition of equitable distribution of the vaccine around the world, including here in St. Lucia, is the driving principle to the UK's approach. To date, the UK has contributed £548 million, or just over $2 billion Eastern Caribbean dollars, to COVAX. Equally as important has been the UK's global influence, implemented through our policy and persistence in encouraging other donors to support the mechanism. And of course, UK science has played an integral role in development of the vaccines.
The COVAX allocation of the AstraZeneca will be used to administer the second dose of vaccines to the 22,839 St. Lucians who volunteered for inoculation in February and March, representing 12.6% of the population. Tekla Jabatiste is the immunization manager.
For us, this is a significant achievement within a short space of time. The response has been very encouraging, and this demonstrates that the citizens of St. Lucia appreciate the health benefits of vaccines. It further demonstrates that collectively, we embrace the opportunity to regain some measure of normalcy and are committed to continue fighting the COVID-19 pandemic, which has now challenged us for over 1 year now.
In the coming days, the Ministry of Health will detail plans for the administering of the second doses of the COVID-19 vaccines. From the Government Information Service, Lisa Joseph reporting.
Thank you, Lisa, for that wrap-up of yesterday's event. the the arrival of the first vaccines coming through the COVAX facility, 24,000 Oxford AstraZeneca doses. They are the first in a series to be deployed to the island through this allocation plan. Of course, our local health officials have said they are primed. This 24,000 doses that have arrived has primed their national vaccine campaign for its next phase, that is phase 2. And you would recall phase 1A and 1B focused on frontliners, persons who are at risk. We're talking about persons who work in clinical settings, the law enforcement. In phase 1B, 65 years and older, residents of elderly homes and so on, focusing on certain sectors, the tourism sector. This week they're focusing on the education sector. The hope that principals, teachers, ancillary staff of schools island-wide can get vaccinated as soon as possible, with the hopes of putting plans in place to reopen school in a physical setting. So at this time, the nearly 23,000 individuals who have received their first dose to date, the 24,000 doses that came through just yesterday will go towards these same individuals receiving their second dose in the coming weeks. And we did hear on the advice of the World Health Organization that the wait time, I believe, was initially 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks, and now it's been pushed down to 8 to 10 weeks. We'll give you some more information on that coming from Tekla Jean-Baptiste, hopefully tomorrow morning, on what plans have been made in terms of the rearrangement for persons to receive or the administration of the second dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. But rest assured that the second dose is on island, and there are more on the way coming through via the COVAX facility. Up to 74,400 doses in total will be received. I can go back to the Prime Minister's words during yesterday's ceremony, indicating that the world has well understood that the islands, countries cannot operate on their own. They cannot deal with the pandemic on their own. The nature of world trade, the nature of economies does not permit individuals to operate as they would want to on their own. And the COVAX facility has assisted with that. They've understood that we need to help our fellow man. We need to help assist the welfare of the other countries in order for our own welfare to be protected. In St. Lucia's case, we rely on tourism. We have individuals, visitors from the metropolitan countries coming to the island, and so it is very critical that we have some degree of immunity here on island. And he did indicate that the government of St. Lucia hopes to have at least half of the population inoculated by October of this year. So you can go online, you can research as much as possible on the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine if you've not yet done so. And in terms of making the decision to get vaccinated, hmi.govt.lc, you could go get pre-registered there. Also, you can visit or call in at any one of the nearest community wellness centers. You can call there and let them know that you're interested. When you do go to get vaccinated, remember to bring a form of identification so that they know how to place you within the system. They know how many people are vaccinated. They know that you were vaccinated. You received your first or second dose. No difference, no departure from the vaccinations that are conducted for other viruses, other illnesses here on island. So that will be happening. And I believe today there's vaccinations happening at the Sufra Hospital, and tomorrow there will be vaccinations at the VG Sports Complex. So you have an opportunity to get vaccinated this week. The target specifically, though, is the education sector, principals, teachers, and the ancillary staff of schools. Just want to give you some quick updates in terms of our COVID-19 status. 8 new cases have been registered, and these 8 were out of a batch of 172 tests that were recently conducted between the 3rd to the 5th of April, and these samples were processed on the 6th. I believe that was Tuesday. And these individuals were seen at various community respiratory clinics, assessed for COVID-19, tested, and were asked to remain in isolation. Of course, when the positive test came back for the 8 individuals, they were taken into treatment. Confirmation has also been received for 12 individuals. They've recovered 12 recoveries in this latest issue from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and this brings the total number of active cases here on island to 120. And when I see figures like this, I just know that health officials are smiling because they are within target. They are meeting their goals. You know, you could go back to a few weeks ago when, you know, the country was grappling with its third wave of the coronavirus and many persons contracting COVID-19 coming off of the Christmas holiday. And definitely it was a challenge for the health sector in managing all of these cases, and most regrettably having to, you know, deal with the individuals who associated with COVID-19 lost their lives. We do have the total figures to date, and it has definitely been spiked after the Christmas holidays, but hopefully we can keep and make good on the gains we've made so far with this 120 figure of active cases. Our total number of cases to date since March last year is 4,312. We do hope that individuals out there are continuing to adhere to the protocols. Every release that we receive from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, it looks something like this in terms of the new cases. It ends with a reminder that everyone continues to adhere to the protocols and behave in ways that can reduce exposure to the COVID-19 virus. And not because we're seeing more and more persons are getting vaccinated, not because we're seeing more and more vaccines coming through to our shores, that we need to let our guards down. Equally, not because we're seeing persons wanting to come to St. Lucia having gotten the vaccine means we need to let our guard down with the tourism sector as well, or our ports. We still need to keep vigilant. Everyone still needs to play their part as per the COVID-19 protocols to ensure that we are not affected far more than we are already by this pandemic. We were scheduled to have 2 more interviews this morning. Unfortunately, I was looking forward to it, but unfortunately, we have not seen them as yet. But we do encourage you to tune in tomorrow morning at this same time, because we will be engaging them and other individuals on the achievements that they've made, the work that they're doing in government. This is what NTN is all about, bringing you the latest developments from the government of St. Lucia, as well as highlighting the work of civilians, individuals, residents here in St. Lucia, who are doing work that contributes to nation building. My name is Jessie Leonce. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Keep safe until we meet tomorrow. TGIF, I'm so looking forward to it. Do keep safe and adhere to the protocols. Stay tuned for more NTN programming. Goodbye.